It's okay as long as you're meditating while you're peeing. And of course we are, aren't we? Always. What should it be? The left hand? Or the right? It's a matter of which one has the most of the day sprinkled on it. I have an issue. You know how some people sniff coke? Smoke crack, sniff coke. My issue is not that I sniff my fingertips. That is not my issue. Oh, this is a good opportunity to show you a recent experiment. Basically, there's a different tincture to one set of fingertips versus another set. My issue is not that I sniff my fingertips and get high. My issue is that I am a germaphobe. Now you could sniff your fingertips like you're playing the harmonica, but you're not. You're taking all those molecules up into your nostrils. And you go into olfactory ecstasy. That old factory of ecstasy. My problem right now is I can hardly even talk to you when I'm in such ecstasy from smelling my fingertips, but that's not what I'm really getting at. Have you picked up on my problem yet? Are you there smelling your fingertips too, and you're like not even concerned about my problems? All you care about is getting that hit from your fingertips. So you know when you pulverize a lotus and all the ingredients of the sacred flower and go up your nose like Coke. The lotus is the flower of enlightenment, the flower of awakening. But what I've done is weaponized my fingertips so that I have 10 lotuses at my disposal. You know what I mean, because I know that once I started this video, you started. Sniffing your fingertips too. I know you did. It's obvious as apple pie to me. Oh, I have a dealer who specializes in the sacred powder of the lotus. And he'll come over and he has a little bowl. And what I do, it's kind of like at church. I grew up in the Catholic faith, and I abdicated my faith in my teens, much to my family's chagrin. But now I'm re-examining my faith and investigating it from a new angle, because when you dip, if you know anything about Catholicism, you kind of dip your hands, your fingertips in this holy water, and you make the sign of the cross. There are a handful of things that I remember. Well, so my dealer comes over, and he'll knock on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, Mark! Boom, 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 boom. And I might be sleeping, or I might be, that sacred place behind the ear. When you don't take a shower but once a week, and you got that grease from your hair, and then there's dead skin cells, and then, oh my God, oh. So he'll be knocking on the door, and I'll be like sniffing my ear. Oh, my God. Shut the front door. Oh. I might have to actually stop this video and just take a moment. I hit the sweet spot right there. So my dealer, he comes in through the door. The door is left open. I am a trusting individual. I don't think anybody in my apartment complex would enter my apartment without my consent. He comes in, and it's hard. It's hard to know how to characterize his demeanor, actually, because every time I see him, I'm high on my own fingertips. Right? So when he comes in, it's like, Christopher Nolan's Inception. It's like a dream within a dream. Because everybody else is a dream in our dream. But see, I'm like in a double dream. Does that mean it's a triple dream? If there were a dream within a dream, and then I am in a artificially induced dream. We say artificial, but what's so fucking artificial about this shit? So he comes in. He holds out the bowl. And it's like I said, it's like the Catholic Mass. You dip your fingertips and you make the sign of the cross. And because I'm feeling nostalgic toward the faith of my childhood, I dip my fingers in the bowl and I make the sign of the cross. But of course, thankfully, there's only so much powder that can stay on your fingertips. Right? So it's not like I'm wasting. Okay, so yeah, I am a little concerned about not getting my money's worth if I do the sign of the cross with the sacred powder of the pulverized lotus. But some things need to be ritualized, and this is one of them. Smelling my fingertips. Because I answered an ad in Craigslist. That's how I found him, Michael. This is a vulnerable moment for me, but I'll share it with you. There was a period in my life when I was trying to get to the other shore. I'm not proud of that because, the most sophisticated among us know that we're already at the other shore. There's no raft that takes us there. Or maybe we are halfway there en route in Medea's Ray. Like a epic, like the Odyssey, and then we realize, everything I'm searching for is here. Well, I didn't figure that out. I'm sure you were smart enough to figure that out, but I was not. So I answered an ad in Craigslist about basically getting to the other shore. I said, do you need to get to the other shore? And that's it. And then there was this email address, so, I emailed Michael. And, he got back to me and we formed a relationship. Getting to the other shore is about basically realizing the meaning of meaning. To be straight with you, it's the realization and the meaning of the meaning, but the symbolic representation of literalistic mind can't fathom the meaning of the meaning. The meaning of the meaning is ritualized activity, sans cogitation. So I was like, what can I do? And Michael comes rapping on my door after we had a back and forth. And he comes in with the sacred powder, the pulverized lotus, what is in Sanskrit called the Udambra, I believe. And it's a lotus that blooms every 3,000 years. It's the one that the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, held up at Vulture Peak in Bihar, India. And he just held it up. And there was a guy named Mahakshapa who saw that lotus and woke up. And that's said to be the mind-to-mind transmission and also the origin of Zen Buddhism. A transmission outside of the scriptures. So when Michael came through the front door, well, really no, there's two doors. He just held up the lotus and looked in my eyes. That's it, man. That's it, brother. This is the raft to the other shore. And just held up that flower. Held it up. Now, mind you, this is the first time that I had seen Michael. This is a man who was himself very dreamlike, very hard to pinpoint, to be honest with you. You know those spectral beings that are amorphous and they're like clouds? I'm sure you've met them. You can't really get a sense for their identity because they're all over the place. They're just like so many frequencies simultaneously. The waves are discombobulated. You know those people? Well, I got a lot of them in my life. Well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have a lot before I met Michael, but ever since I started... So, Mark, your major issue, why you reached out to me on Craigslist, is you have anxiety. You have anxiety in your heart, Mark. And you want to get rid of that anxiety in your heart, don't you now, Mark? Yeah, I do. Well, it's not hard to get rid of that anxiety in your heart. You have to enter the anxiety in your heart. You gotta live in the anxiety in your heart. The way to overcome fear, the way to conquer fear is to become fear. So Mark, you want to get to the other side. You want to get off the raft. But there is no raft. There's just your anxiety. So, what you and I are going to work on today is you're going to take this powder and you're going to put it on your fingertips. You're going to put it up to your nostrils. You're going to start sniffing. And what I want from you is you have to be in touch with your heart in the moment that you're sniffing the powder of the sacred lotus. Because what we want to do is we want to establish a bridge between the anxiety in your heart and the powder. So you can imagine, that was the first thing he said to me, which is, of course, wow. Wow. A little bit too much. I've got a really dear friend who's like a grandmother to me, really, really loving person. And I told her about this guy, Michael. And she's like super, super caring, super, super loving of me. And she's one of those solicitous maternal types. And when I tell her about the powder, when I tell her about getting to the other shore, I'm a little worried that she's going to judge me for that, to be honest with you. But at the same time, she's one of those types who she's a love machine. So I think that she probably has a lot of access to the anxiety in her heart, because every time I come to her, she already anticipates my fear that she's gonna judge me. Because as I've been saying recently, men want to be men, but we're just so scared of being men, and we're just like, we talk to grandmas, because grandmas we go up to the grandmother and we're just like, I've got this problem. There's this guy. He just came to my house, to my apartment. He walked through the door, and he's got this bowl, and I met him on Craigslist, and he says to me that my anxiety in my heart is where I've got to show up. And she's like, oh, sweetie, bless your heart. She's like a Southern belle. Bless your heart. You don't know who this man is. He could be anyone. Did you do a background check on him? I'm like, no, Grandma, I didn't do a background check. I was wanting to answer the question of life and death, and I mean, it's, why, I don't know. Craigslist. I read a lot of books. I've read the newspaper. I've gone on YouTube, and I can't find anybody who really speaks to me, to my needs. And that, I don't know, maybe because in that moment it was like what they talk about in the Zen Buddhism tradition, where this one guy, this monk, was listening to this other guy, this other monk, the Zen master, and he's a disciple, he's in the Zendo, and all of a sudden, boom, he's like, oh, something starts to shift in him, but he doesn't know what it is yet. So that monk, the novice monk, he goes back to his quarters, or he goes and travels, and he's at another monastery, and he's lying down, and it's night, and all of a sudden he hears the babbling brook outside of the monastery, and he hears some kind of rustling of the leaves of the trees. He looks through the window and sees the moonlight, and boom, Satori. So that's what I wanted, and that's what I deserve from Craigslist. 'Cause anything can happen. Anything. You have to basically match the frequency of reality, but you've got to send out the frequency first in order to find that correlative match. Oh, baby. Bless your heart. Bless your heart, Mark. Sounds like you got it all figured out. No, I don't. Michael, on the other hand. So are you going to take the powder or not? Well, you seem awfully convinced. We just met. But you're already thinking I should take your powder. Yeah, you should. This powder comes from a lotus that only blooms once every 2,000 years. Wow. Because I was just talking to my grandma friend. She's kind of my grandma, I guess. I mean, we're not related, but I was just telling her about this enlightenment experience that a monk had. So, but wait a minute. Okay, so wait a minute. What happens when I take this powder that you're giving me and I realize the meaning of meaning, right? Because it's not just the meaning of life, it's the meaning of meaning. Because the meaning of life doesn't mean shit unless I know what is the meaning of meaning. And if you know the meaning of meaning, then you've got it all figured out. So when I get that, but then the high wears off, right? So you become my dealer. And so you got to come over to the apartment like what every 3-4 days, every week. I'll come over as often as you need me to. Well, don't you have other clients, other people? Yeah, I do. Lots of people responded to the Craigslist ad. Of course, you're not the only one. Oh, bless your heart, sweetie. Do you see how he's roping you in? Bless your heart. Now you gotta be really careful with these guys. They're called confidence men. They're confidence men. My ex-husband was a confidence man, and I gave him everything. He swindled me and bilked me. He was a charlatan. I got in bed with him, had some kids, and then he took off with all of my money. So you need to be careful with this Michael guy. So, if I understand you correctly, you show up anytime I want. That's it. That is it. So, are you interested in my powder or no? Well, okay. You tell me this. I am interested in your powder, and I am interested in knowing how you show up whenever I need you to. Well, that's not very hard. I am Avalokiteshvara. I respond to the needs of all beings, especially those who cry out in distress. Oh, baby. Yeah, baby. That is some good shit. So I need you to understand, oh wow, that I don't know what the fuck was going on in that moment when that man entered my apartment and told me he was Avalokiteshvara, because I didn't even really, I knew from my studies of Buddhism, of Zen, that Avalokiteshvara was the Indian, or actually the Tibetan version of Kanon, which is the Zen Buddhism of the Bodhisattva of compassion. See, now, right now, I wish I had all the arms of Avalokiteshvara, because Avalokiteshvara is the Buddha with all these hands and all these eyes. And some depictions, you have the eyes in the hands. And so there's thousands of hands with thousands of eyes. And guess what? This Avalokiteshvara didn't have the powder on all 1,000 hands and wasn't awake at that moment when that Avalokiteshvara entered the door. So I was a little freaked out, and I go running to my grandma later, afterwards, and she's listening to me freak out. No, I hear you. Well, this is something that you've always had to deal with, sweetie. You've always wanted to save all sentient beings. Right? Ever since you were a little boy, you were like, always having this desire to be of help and assistance. So, you have a little work cut out for you, sweetheart. You do. And now, even though I'm skeptical, I could be wrong. He could be a good man. I don't want my life to determine the potential of your life, sweetheart. You may just wanna have a little bit of his powder. His powder might really open up the doors of your perception, like that Huxley fellow said. Why don't you do this, sweetheart? Why don't you buy one, whatever he sells it as, just buy one of them, and see how it works for you. See if that powder is all that he says it is, and then make your decision. But I don't know if that's wise. You know, it's like anything. That's why I don't do drugs. I do it once, and I don't know. I could get hooked on that shit. Then he's my dealer, and then my life goes down the drain. Yeah, but sweetheart, your life could go up the drain. You need to think about it that way. And you should really just listen, because not all people are evil. And if someone like me is saying that you really could take a chance with this guy, this what's his name? Michael? So what's it gonna be, man? You want the powder or not? Really, man, do you want the powder? You just have to put it on your fingertips. And in no time, you'll be saving all sentient beings. 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes, seeing all the suffering of the world, and drenching every sentient being with loving wisdom, the nectar of the heart. And this powder, your fingertips, that bliss, it's all sourced in the anxiety of the heart. You just enter the anxiety of the heart and you will be of service, Mark, to all sentient beings. What do you say? Would you like some of this powder? Would you? Just take a little? Feel it go down into your heart and convert that anxiety in your heart, Mark, into nectar. And that nectar is the engine of your 1,000 arms and 1,000 hands and your 1,000 eyes, because that's how you fly. And that's how I show up at everyone's doorstep. Now do you see? Do you want to be in a bodhisattva like me? Because that is how we operate. Put an ad in Craigslist, You answer that ad, and before you know it, you're sniffing your fingertips and becoming Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of infinite compassion. Like your charming grandma said, you like to save all sentient beings since you were a little tyke. It's about time you fulfilled that promise and tossed the raft. Am I right? Am I right, Mark? You need to leave your trepidation behind. Oh, God. Sweetie, you haven't moved from that position in hours. Are you okay? Do you need Grandma's love? Can I make you some cookies or something? You don't look so good. Sweetie, you don't look good. 'Cause I'm not. I can't get enough of my fingertips. I'm hooked on the powder. Every time I sniff it, I feel like I'm saving. I feel like I'm saving sentient beings from suffering in all the 6 realms. And I can't get enough. I cannot get enough from my dealer. I feel that I have sold my soul to the Buddha. But you're more alive. Maybe you are more alive than you've ever been. You're hooked. Well, sweetheart, you're alive. I am alive. That is true. That is true. But I don't even know if this alive is a dream or is a hallucination cast by the powder on my fingertips. I just know that I cannot stop smelling my fingertips. Oh my God, they smell so good. I must have not washed them. That perfect blend of sweat and salt and dirt and dead skin. I'm saving all sentient beings right now with my thousands of hands and thousands of eyes and thousands of arms. Oh my God, I'm so alive. There are no rafts and there are no shores. I'm fully exerted in manifesting an entire universe with every fingertip. And it's true, he shows up. What did I tell you? I would show up. He shows up whenever I need him. I do. But you realized our mutual identity. That's how Avalokiteshvara functions. How do you think that Avalokiteshvara is able to show up at every doorstep with the powder, the sacred lotus, for every sentient being? Because once you sniff the sacred powder of the lotus, the Udambra that blossoms every 3,000 years, you realize your mutual identity with every bodhisattva of compassion everywhere. That is how we always show up at your doorstep and always answer your cries of suffering. How do you think we do it, man? We're all high. Do you really think that a bodhisattva could really save all sentient beings, stave off nirvana and samsara, and walk the tightrope of liberation in this realm if they weren't a little high on their fingertips? I like this Michael guy. He's talking sense. He's talking sense, baby. So why don't you give Grandma a little bit of that powder? Oh no, I am not giving you that powder. You cannot handle that powder. You're 80 fucking years old. You cannot handle. Can she handle the powder? Oh yeah, she can handle that powder. Oh fuck. So you're recruiting her now too? Mark, how do you think that we have 1,000 arms? How do you think we're able to show up on every doorstep? Do you think that's always me? That's not always me. What? You're telling me that every day I think that's you at my door with my powder? That's not you. No, man. Whoa. Well, who is it? Just keep sniffing, man. Okay. I'm sniffing my fingertips. Mark, you've only sniffed the Lotus one time. One time. What do you mean I've only sniffed it one time? The lotus blooms once every 3,000 years. How do you think that I could show up at your door every day or every other day with a new batch of powder if I've pulverized something that only blooms once every 3,000 years? You know, once you pulverize it, there's only enough for one bowl of powder. What about that, Michael? What about the raft? The raft that's supposed to take me to the other side. You're saying that the raft does not exist. I'm saying that once you contacted me on Craigslist and you got your grandmother involved. She's not my grandmother. Once you got grandmother involved, that you sniffed the sacred powder of the lotus on your fingertips one time. And you became a Avalokiteshvara immediately. And you grew 1,000 arms with 1,000 hands and 1,000 eyes. And you began emancipating beings immediately. But of course, you are a fearful, anxiety-ridden, compound individual, Mark. You're constantly concerned about that raft to the other shore. I am. The raft is the bowl. The raft is the bowl. The bowl that you give me every day when you walk in the door. The raft is the bowl. Sweetie, you're not listening to what the man is saying. The raft. Sweetie, you have to listen to what he's saying. The raft is not the bowl. The raft and the bowl they're gone. The raft and the bowl are gone. So all I have is the anxiety in my heart. That is not all that you have. You sniffed on your fingertips a lotus that blooms every 3,000 years. You do not only have the anxiety in your heart. The anxiety in your heart is the raft, not the bowl of powder that I brought one day after answering your Craigslist ad, or you answering mine ad. It's the bowl, the raft, that's here. It's the anxiety of the heart. This is the nectar that you dip into. You don't realize it. You're so high. But in the midst of that high, you dip your fingers into the nectar of your heart. And then your arms multiply by your side, like a peacock with all those eyes. You know that's how it is. Grandma? Okay, so you two are obviously in a conspiracy against me. Well, when did you get in the boat with this guy? Are you what? Oh. So what are you trying to say ultimately? First of all, let me get a couple things straight. You, Grandma, I know you're real. You, on the other hand, I don't even know what you are. You could be a hyper-dimensional being for all I know, because you show up at You show up at my door with this power. And you sell it to me and you get me hooked on it. And then you're like telling me that reality is not what it seems. Which is true. I know that. Because if everything can change from answering or whatever Craigslist, so what is the answer here? You're telling me that this is anxiety, here is the answer. I'm telling you that that's where you're plugged in. And that the powder allows you to sense it. If you, and you can ask Grandma about this, if you notice what distinguishes you from every other human being that you know ever since you started sniffing your fingertips with the powder of the lotus, there is one thing that distinguishes you, Mark, from every other human being ever since we met. You're in contact with the anxiety in your heart. Now that may seem like a trivial matter, but as Grandma herself will tell you, people will go their entire life without accessing this anxiety, which is the fundamental contraction of existing. And if you want, You can look at the powder and your fingertips and all that as the metaphor for accessing that portal. Because it is the most tremendous energy available to you. This is the only way I got over my husband leaving me. Is to get in touch with that. Michael is right. It's the thing. The anxiety of the heart. You have to be it. And that's what we are trying to tell you. Is that the sacred powder of the lotus, you only sniffed it once. You every day, you're like this. Every day you're hooked on your fingertips and sniffing them. And you're so concerned about whether you washed your hands because you're a germaphobe, and whether you have the right proportion of salt and sweat and dirt and dead skin and food particles and all of that. And that's okay, Mark. That's your thing. But you've only sniffed the powder one time. One time. And at that point, all the feathers of all the peacocks interlocked all throughout space and time into the indefinite past, into the indefinite future. The omnipresence of the present extended infinitely in all directions. And you realized your identity with all identities and all sentient entities, and that is the Buddha, the Bodhisattva, the Avalokiteshvara, the canon of infinite compassion. So if you're saying this, I responded to a Craigslist ad, and then I became a Bodhisattva. Is that, did I get that right? Almost. You were always a Bodhisattva. Always. These are the little signs that you use. Like, these are the little things that you do. You're hooked on your fingertips and you're sniffing all of the particles like they're cocaine, and that's okay. That's what people do. People need their little rafts. Yeah. So my fingertips are my rafts. The bowl is the raft, but this is not. Am I right? This is not the raft. This is it. This is the other shore. You're almost there, man. You're almost there. You're almost there. But even when you say that you're almost there, isn't that like doing what we're not supposed to be doing? Like saying there's some place over there that we gotta get to and realize and all that stuff? It is. But that's not what we want to do. Am I right? You're gonna do it whether you want to do it or not. There's food in the kitchen. Are you gonna say that you're already eating it without going into the next room? Grandma, help me out here. Am I already eating the food in the kitchen while it's there? Is it cooking itself? No sugar, I'm cooking that. So Grandma's cooking my food in the other room, so all I have to do is go in the other room and get it. You're almost there, Mark. Grandma's going to be bringing the food into this room, and you're going to be eating it. But, of course, me, you, Grandma. We're just one peacock. All of our feathers, all of our hands, and all of our eyes.
radiation of the anxious heart.